Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel Shotgun Shogun, and I am going to follow up on some of the stuff that's been going on. And one of the things that I mentioned in the video yesterday, and the whole controversy, everything going on with the whole Smilegate thing, I did what actually most people should have done, and I reached out to the community managers, Mashu. Mashu, Desperado are both of the community managers that were brought on to, well, help out Smilegate in terms of, see what the community's sentiments are, things like that. And one of the big things is when a game has a community manager or community managers or community management team, you should probably reach out to them first before, doing the whole review bombing, everything like that, because that really doesn't do anything. The community managers are obviously there to gather up information and sentiments of the community and then move those up the chain to the development team. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey man, so there's obviously, that there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of people are really unhappy. Like, obviously some of the requests are completely unreasonable, and you have to understand too that probably the community managers, they wade through a lot of the Reddit threads, a lot of Facebook threads, Twitter threads, things like that, and they see nothing but unreasonable requests. Get rid of all snacks, full auto, every game these days has it. By the way, if that's your argument, you're wrong, because I actually looked at what games have full complete auto. Now a lot of games do have skip tickets and stuff like that, but the vast majority of really big games don't actually have full auto, and there's quite a few games that don't have any auto features at all. So that's really not an argument. Not only that, but one of the things is that, and I keep saying, if that were the case, then this game would become exponentially more boring, because I would just load up on 10,000 stamina and I would just let the game auto itself all day, and then everyone would be like, well, whales can do this. Anyways, regardless of all of those facts, I have my own gripes about the responses and a lot of things like that. But what I did was I said, hey, if I can gather up reasonable requests from my comment sections, from my Discord, from my community, and I put them into an outline of what Smilegate can do in order to alleviate some of the issues that a lot of the normal people, not the fringe vocal minorities, are having. Can you get that to the right people to take a look at? And Mashu said, yeah, you know what? Put something together for me, send it over. I'll get it to the right people, and we'll leave it at that, and we'll see where it goes. And for the most part, like I've said before, when I met the devs at the E7 meetup in New York, a lot of them seemed very reasonable. I was talking to one of them after the show, and I was explaining, hey, look, here's a lot of the things that the community's seen, and as a more, reasonable person, here's some things that you can put in to alleviate the vast majority of the normal person's problems. And you have to understand that, your problems are not my problems, and our problems are not other people's problems. There's no one size fits all solution. Some people say full auto would solve all the problems. Some people say taking out snacks, things like that. And then I have people that are like, no, that would literally ruin the game for me. You have people that say, oh, if you completely get rid of the equipment costs, that would alleviate all of the problems. And there's other people that say, well, if I got rid of those completely, then I would have more gold and gold would become trivial. Now, I did take a bunch of things, like I said, from my Discord, from the comment section of the last couple of videos, and things like that. And some of the, I keep reading a lot of Reddit threads, and I like some of the ones that are more, reasonable. There's actually a really good thread on, from the dev side of things, as well as like the kind of community managed project management side of things when it comes to a lot of this. And you have to understand that the people who are like heavily rallying against the game right now are the vocal minority. The game has over 1 million installs, and at any given time, like, the active user base of Reddit is like 2,500 people. So I understand the fact that, from a dev community manager side of things, Reddit's always mad about something. You put out an OP ML hero, they're mad. You put out an underpowered ML hero, they're mad. They call it trash, no content, stuff like that. But let me get into the meat and potatoes of what it is that I suggested to them. So in my letter, my statement, my write-up to them, I put up, first off, like to preface this by not caving to the vocal minority. The problem with that is that once you cave to the people that are review bombing you, stuff like that, things are never going to be enough. They get that sense of, oh, well, they caved to this. Let's just keep going and seeing how far we can get until the devs are just like, you know what? No, we're not changing anything. We're not listening to anybody. This is how our game is. And if you don't like it, don't play it. That's one of the big downsides of rallying that hard against them with unreasonable things. So I have requested that people in my community / videos provide some reasonable requests, and here are some of the items that I have gathered. First up, the big one is gear. Gear is one of the biggest complaints, and the conversion feature really missed the mark. Even if you were to allow us to craft the set we want with just a token and other pieces of gear from the same set, most people would not be able to use from the same set. Most people would not be able to fully gear out characters in a quick order due to the sheer amount of characters that they have. Additionally, don't limit us to only using swords to craft swords, because sometimes you don't get enough of a certain type of item, and that is what you're looking to craft. You could have it working similar to charms, left side for left side gear and right side for right side gear. This would be a very solid option. Now take into account, maybe you don't get a bunch of rings, but you're getting a ton of boots. If you can use boots to craft a ring with just a token, let's say they up the amount of tokens that we get off of World Boss, things like that, I feel like a lot of people would be more apt to use the conversion system. Now, I also stated that you could time gate this like you do with charms. That's an easy solution to, the theoretical, oh, well, everybody would just craft constantly and, everybody would be super geared out, and then they would complain that there's no content because now they're not farming. So you could do it like you do with charms. One piece of gear that requires a mark from the world boss plus multiple 3 to 6 plus 3 plus 6 items would be fairly reasonable. Right now, the amount of gear, the plus 15s that you have to throw in to make an epic piece of gear are astronomical. It is just ridiculous that you would have to put in so much gear at a plus certain level in order to get a epic piece of gear out. So if they lowered the amount of that, which they did say that they were going to look into in the announcement yesterday, I think that would be a fairly good solution. So you do World Boss, which, let's be real, it's a 15-second cutscene that you really don't put in a whole lot of effort to. Up the amount of charms that you get from that in order to do conversions, and I think that would be a solid, reasonable, thing here. Now, one of the big things for me anyways is that I would craft that. Now, you can still pick main stat, you can still pick type, you could pick, hey, I want a destruction ring main stat attack. Now, you can't make it so that everything is perfect, because again, you would have somebody that would get the perfect destruction ring, and then they would be like, oh, well, I guess I don't have anything else to really craft because that was the one piece. Now, most people aren't going to be thinking that way because you're going to want to gear out everybody. So the vast majority of people would be perfectly fine with whatever they did, as long as they lowered it just a little bit, because it is highly RNG heavy on the substats. Now, they did, one of the big things too that I see here is just get rid of flat substats, flat stats in general. They double buff those, and in some cases, flat stats are actually better on certain characters than percentage stats, and flat stats aren't as bad as they used to be, so it is still a usable piece of gear. Let's say you've got 3 percentage stats or 2% of speed and then flat health. There's actually times where I would prefer on a character that I need to be super tanky to have like percent defense, percent health, speed, and then flat health. That's something that I actually look for in some of my more tanky characters. And so I think a lot of people just see a flat stat and they're still in that world where flat stats are literal trash, literally unusable item. You still have the percentage main stats, so that's still a thing. You can easily do that with the conversion. So that's one of the big things here. They really do need to be able to really come at it with a little bit lower of a gate. The 15 silver transmit stones for one of those, completely unreasonable. One transmit stone, if any, maybe buy it for gold, something along those lines. But that was one of the big main topics here. This would, and I preface it where I put after the fact, this would give people something to work towards without overflowing the game with perfect gear. Remove items like energy, dust, bookmarks from Hunt 11. There is a high feeling of frustration when you are hunting for gear and you get skystones, dust, or bookmarks. Additionally, if you are doing Hunt 11, you should not be getting level 70 blue gear. I would suggest making a Hunt 12. Increase the difficulty and add in some gimmicks, and then remove all of the extra stuff as well as level 70 gear. You can have the Wyvern drop 85 gear or additional mats for crafting. This would be a good way to gate the influx of level 85 gear while giving people a sense of working towards more gear through blacksmithing. They also need to overhaul the blacksmithing system. Allow people to trade back in unique gear for new pieces. That way we could theoretically reroll things like the PvP sets or unique gear from the story. There's nothing more frustrating than getting a piece of arena gear and it going all into a random stat that you are not looking for. This can serve as a further gold time material sink, but would allow for players to craft the piece of gear that they really, really need. And I know a lot of you are already thumbs downing this video because I keep talking about gold time material sinks. There has to be some sort of sink in the game, that they're never not going to have a sink in the game. And I think that by putting that in there and alleviating some of the other sinks and then kind of going, hey, well, this is working to it over time type of deal, I think that is a good way to kind of come at the dev team as a compromise. You're not going to get everything for free, and if you ask for things for free, they're going to be coming at you. You're going to be coming at it from a more unreasonable term, and they're going to go, you know what? No, I am not going to do that. So that is a stance that I'm kind of taking here. But gold is another huge concern for both myself as well as the rest of the community. There's never enough, and the number of gold sinks in the game are astronomical. I would suggest taking the items from hunts, bookmarks, dust, skystones, and putting them into a new hunt that players can run where gold would be boosted and you have the chance to get the items above or additional gold. This way you will have to determine what you want to use your energy on. Do you farm hunts for gear or do you hunt for gold? This would also give more people more options on what it is that they are working towards. To put it into perspective, I am a large whale and obviously I farm quite a bit. I am rarely at a comfortable place when it comes to gold, and I'm always trying to optimize my cost. I never actually craft anymore because it's not worth my gold. One thing you can do is reduce blacksmithing costs. Cut gear move in half, obviously keep it, or people would be overflowing with gold. And I know, again, thumbs down on this right now. Comment section, no, I wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, anyways. Provide a way to generate more gold at the cost of energy with the hunt suggestion above. I think that by having that extra option, you could put it in as the goblin boss, and then so either you get like a 50% chance to get one of those things. You could even put snacks into that hunt. You could put those in there and you would either get those things or you would get additional boosted gold. This way, let's say I farm Wyvern 11 and I've got 15,000 claws. Now, I'm not going to spend the 25 million gold that it's going to cost me, even at the, you know, reduced cost in the by putting the breaths in there, it would still be quite a bit. I've done it before. It was a lot of money. I would not do that. But if I had a more reliable way in order to make gold, then I would absolutely start blacksmithing. If blacksmithing were a little bit cheaper, the problem is the amount of gold that you get from farming wyvern pretty much just pays for the cost of blacksmithing that item. So you're at like a net even when it comes to farming, because if you're using it for blacksmithing, you are just, yeah, it's just kind of a treadmill and you're never really ahead. So one of the big things that I wanted to point out here was that they need to either boost ways to get gold or reduce ways to spend gold, reduce the amount of gold that you spend. Now, the other thing too here is that, you know, you have to kind of pick, do I level up a piece of gear or do I sell all of this gear that I'm getting? I understand that they're trying to, you know, put in time sinks so that you still have to farm continuously and keep playing the game. Now, the problem with that is, you know, unless you are an absolute degenerate farmer like myself, you know, you do not get joy from that. And so that is a big thing with that. Now, if you cut it in half, yeah, I'd plus 15 some more gear. And the big thing that a lot of people bring up is that they can only plus 15 so much gear because of the cost. Now, same, I have, you know, I think it's 93 now, 6 stars in order to gear out. I could get a perfect piece of gear every single day and I would not have those characters geared out for a really, really long time. Even if I got moderately decent pieces of gear, none of that gear would be plus 15 for a very, very long time. So that is definitely a big concern here. The next thing I brought up was World Boss, and a lot of the people I talked to really thought that this was going to be something different. Now, the people who played Summoner's War, they were like, well, this was kind of pretty much what I expected, but it wasn't what Smilegate touted out. And a lot of people have to understand that a lot of people who play Epic 7 never played Summoner's War, so they don't really know what to expect, considering, you know, Epic 7 pulls a lot of the stuff from Summoner's War. But I said, I feel like a lot of people were expecting something different from this. There's a big push and an ask for co-op play with their guild mates. You could have a guild world boss with multiple phases where players actually fight the boss, not obviously expecting to win each round, but they would fight with other members. You would have 3 fights against the same boss each time, with the HP declining as you and your guildmates bring it down. As you bring its HP down, you would have potentially different phases where it does different things, and maybe even different things per person. This would provide endgame content as well as the co-op aspect of rallying with your friends that you play with to bring down a big baddie that can provide very good loot if defeated, or mid-tier loot if not defeated. Now, World Boss takes 15 seconds. It's a cutscene. Do I think that they need to increase the gold rewards from that? Absolutely. But the effort put in for the rewards gotten back, I think that in some cases are not bad. There's an RNG factor there, but the first time that you get a Molagora for 20 stamina, you are going to go, oh, you know what? This was actually pretty okay. Or, you know, as long as you don't get the bare minimum, which it is RNG, may the gacha gods be on your side. But if I get like a catalyst, I got an epic catalyst the other day. Or no, I didn't get an epic catalyst. That was from my dog. I got a catalyst, and for 20 stamina, that was 20 energy. That was, you know, that was pretty all right. So I think overall, the effort put into World Boss, because, you know, you're just going to hit the skip button anyways. The rewards do need to be tuned a little bit. Snacks should be probably 5 if you get them. Gold should have another 0 on it, because let's be real, that's not unreasonable for a 2-day lockout, or even doubled. If you got, what, 6 things of 12k gold, that still wouldn't be too bad for 20 stamina. energy. So the numbers definitely need to be readjusted, but I think that, you know, some people are like, this isn't worth the effort. It's like, dude, it's literally 15 seconds of a cutscene that you can skip. Like, what effort was put into that? I do think that they need to have a co-op actual boss where people have to fight and use strategy and understand that, you know, certain things need to happen in certain ways. Maybe that element of RNG in there where, you know, you don't know which version of the boss, what this version's gonna do. Maybe you fight a hand while somebody else fights a foot, and it's RNG based on which version you get, and then it can do different things. Now, eventually people will understand how all of the strategies work, and it'll be a lot easier, but it will give you something to work towards. Now, one of the problems with that is going to be that, you know, casual people who don't have the top tier gear are going to go, well, this isn't, we can't beat this, so that's not fair. Whereas, you know, top tier guild players are going to just easily steamroll it, and they're going to go, well, this wasn't fun, I'm bored. This isn't doing anything for me. Unfortunately, you can't cater a game to the top 1%. Sucks endgame players, deal with it. Most games don't cater to endgame players. I'm an endgame player, so you know what? The game shouldn't cater to me. It should cater to the middle tier people, honestly, if they want their game to continue. Pets were the next thing. Pets are a very big concern in the community, and sadly they cannot see the good in them for the bad. Auto-looting chests was a big thing that people wanted, and limiting it behind the snack feels like a slight to them. Personally, I don't mind, but I think that allowing them to auto-loot chests would be a good step, but please never take away snacks for auto-repeat. Ever. I am adamant against auto-repeat. It would be a good move to have some sort of refund of resources if your synthesis fails, as it can be a big point of frustration in losing the high-end pets. You know, you have a double S pet, a double SR pet that you have, and then you build an R or an SRR pet all the way up, and then you fail your synthesis and you lose it. You should at least get something back, whether it's pet food or, you know, the pet just loses a generation and you have to redo that or something along those lines. But there needs to be some sort of refund instead of just a flat, just no, it's gone. Or they could put in something else, and I know that people are already, you know, like, no, I don't want another currency, but you could potentially have something where, let's say if you fail 5 times, you get a token that you can use and your next synthesis is guaranteed. That would be semi-reasonable, I think. You know, kind of, you could build them up through failed syntheses, and boom, next one, you're good. You guaranteed. You think of it as like a pity synthesis system. So, but the big thing here is that a lot of the people that I find that are complaining want way too much, and they want it right this second, or else the game is literally dead game, literal garbage. The thing is with the most recent patch, they didn't take anything away. You don't have to do World Boss. You don't have to spend the 20 stamina to do World Boss. You don't have to do gear conversion. I literally haven't. I was like, no, I'm not doing this until they come back and readjust it, which I know that they will. And so coming at it from that aspect, literally the game is the same. There's nothing that has changed. They didn't take anything away. They literally just put in extra stuff. And I feel like a lot of people have this knee-jerk reaction of, no, they took everything away. They made the game absolute garbage. But it's not any different than it was. There's just stuff now that you don't like. So coming at them, I think from this reasonable standpoint, I feel like this will be a good way to kind of say, hey, look, this is what the vast majority of people want. So, and I closed it with, you know, if you're looking for other ways to monetize your game, you should have a monthly epic pass. Skins are insanely profitable way to monetize your game. You missed the mark by not releasing one for Halloween, which Araminta would have generated so much money. Santa Charles, literally take my bank account. People really like skins and will be fine with even forking over just flat cash instead of Skystones for them. This is a good way to be a little bit more generous on some of the other things where people are like, no, they're just monetizing pets, which, I mean, you can't really monetize. They're not monetizing snacks. There's no snack pack or anything like that. So the thing with that is that they could be a little bit more generous in other places and then go, hey, look, you know what? Give us $5 for this skin. I feel like a lot more people would be more apt to spend $5 on a skin that doesn't do anything, and they wouldn't complain because it wouldn't be one of those things where, oh, well, whales are just getting whale skins, or, you know, just buying energy and I can't do the same thing. So skins, not only that, but I really just want more skins in the game because that's just, I want Santa Charles. I really, really want Santa Charles where he has a big sack of presents and he just makes you correct your posture with a giant sack of presents. But with that said, both I and the community feel that if my community feel that if you address gear and gold concerns, this would go a long way to fixing the community's problems. Please do not cater to the vocal minority and let them die out. Fix these two big items and the vast majority of people will be perfectly fine with your game. So that is what I sent over to them. Whether or not this is actually going to do anything, I don't know, but I wanted to take the more reasonable approach. I have the outlets to, you know, speak to the community managers, and literally everybody else does as well. Join the official Discord. They're both very active in there. You can literally just message them with things. They're very quick to respond, and I think that that should be your first outlet before literally just crapping on the game. Now, to be fair, if that doesn't do anything, or if they were to just straight up ignore people, then yeah, okay, after that, then your outrage outlet is the other option. But until you have exhausted your first more reasonable, more cordial responses, then that I feel like is a little bit of an overreach, and a lot of people won't be happy until it's done right this second. They put a lot of this stuff out last week, and then a lot of people complained on Friday expecting them to address things over the weekend right this second, and then aren't happy with them going, you know what, hey, let's look at this. You know, we're not changing anything right this second because they're not going to do knee-jerk changes to a lot of things. So, again, a lot of people are going to come in here and be like, Shogun, why are you shilling for Smilegate? And I will say, I literally didn't. Did you read this? Did you listen to any of this at all? There's quite a few concerns in here that a lot of reasonable people want. The unreasonable people, I literally don't care. I don't. A lot of your complaints and a full auto is stupid, and I will never back that. So, you know what? Don't even bother writing out your dissertation in my comment section about how every game has full auto, because you're wrong. And you know what? That sucks, man. So if you like this, if there's anything that you would like to add, because they did indicate that if they had any more questions, any more concerns, any more requests for information, I would continue to keep a log of things that I see in my comment section, and I would generate that over to them, because, you know, I would much rather go to the people who can get things done than bash the game on every platform possible. So let me know in the comment sections if you think this is going to work. I don't know. We'll see. If it doesn't, then you know what? Maybe I will do what I can to rally against them. I'll go to conventions, stuff like that. But I feel like this was the best course of action for the time. But I'm going to get back to leveling this Moonlight Litica, which Reddit and Facebook told me is garbage, but seems to be doing pretty well in here at level 55. Plus, I ran up against one earlier in Arena, which was actually pretty interesting. It was Moonlight Litica into a super fast Dizzy, and yeah, it was a pretty interesting team. So anyways, guys, I will catch you later. Take it easy, homies. Peace.